On today's Be the Teacher, we will be discussing set design. For this class, when it's time to do a set requirement, you'll find 3 original set images of 3 different locations where your director's film could take place. And one of those images must be a before and after where you professionally stage and make changes. But I'm getting ahead of myself. What is set design and how do people find sets? When picking locations for your film, you're casting your film with actors who have a lot of character. So you should find locations with a lot of character. Don't just go for generic locations like a bookstore or a restaurant. Go with specific settings that will be memorable to your audience, such as a quaint boutique bookstore or a French cafe with a patio overlooking a park. Does your character live in a small, messy apartment or a lavish house on a gated grounds with an Olympic-sized swimming pool? All the scenery, furniture, and props the audience sees during a film make up the set design, and the set designer's job is to design these physical surroundings in which the action will take place. The overall look of the set also gives the audience information about the director's concept of the production. That's right, once again we're starting with the director's treatment and script. The set should suggest the style and tone of the whole production, create the mood and atmosphere, give clues to the specific time and place of action, and offer creative possibilities for the moving and grouping of the actors. All the things appearing in the film other than the scenery are called properties or props. Set props like furniture, draperies, and decorations are the types of things that complete the set, and they need to be part of the design. So the set designer will normally read the script many times, both to get a feel for the flavor and spirit of the script and to list its specific requirements for scenery, furnishing, and props. One place where movies take place are soundstages. Soundstages are a convenient way to shoot interior scenes, mainly because you don't have to worry about unplanned sounds interrupting your takes. A soundstage is basically a soundproof room. All exterior sounds are blocked out of an industrial soundstage after the doors are closed. A soundstage is an acoustic environment that has padded walls that absorb sound to prevent the echo or reverb in your dialogue, as would happen if you filmed in an uncarpeted room. For example, look at this picture here. This picture here is from The Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man. You didn't know that subway scene actually took place in a soundstage in front of a green screen. See, an advantage of shooting on a soundstage is that you can set up several interior sets for different locations in your script without having to move your whole production team. You can have a courtroom, a cell block, an apartment, a coffee shop, and an interior fast food restaurant all on the same soundstage. For example, look at this soundstage from the movie Enchanted. This is a ballroom that is being built from a model on a soundstage. And the ballroom is not the only room that you'll find on this particular soundstage. For example, there's this bathroom that they use at one point in the movie, and there's the apartment where the main characters live in the story. All of these different environments are located on one soundstage. And again, this is the movie Enchanted. In addition to soundstages, there are a number of outdoor locations that can also be used. Filming on a soundstage or in a warehouse is not always practical. You may not have the budget to do it, so sometimes you can find a location at which you can film for free or for a price that's within your budget. By shooting on location, you don't have to start from scratch and construct sets for every scene in your film, because that's not always practical, especially on a low budget. Whether you're in Los Angeles, New York, or a small town in the Midwest, you're sure to find a vacant building that can work wonders for your story. And it's just waiting to be razed. That means knocked down or renovated. From an old restaurant that's been shut down to a bank that closed its doors, you can usually negotiate with the building owner or the government to film on an existing set. For example, here's a shot of Will Smith in I Am Legend, where they shut down one of the streets of Manhattan, Park Avenue, to film the movie. The thing about filming on location is that you have to make sure that the place you choose is appropriate for sound as well as all the crew and equipment you'll be bringing. In New York City, you have the Made in New York office sponsored by the government, where you can go and you can apply for a permit online. There's information here about when a permit is required and fee info. They'll also tell you about insurance requirements and optional permits that you may need to get. And look at this, it's only $300 to apply for a permit, and the fees after that are not that expensive. That's to film in New York. And then they tell you how to notify the neighborhood and talk to the people who live in that neighborhood so that they know you're coming. It's really become quite easy to film in New York City, to get the permits, to get the sheets necessary to shut down a street, and to even have access to police officers who will work your movie set throughout the day, helping you to secure the area and keep your movie free from people who might want to make a surprise appearance. Plenty of famous movies have been shot on location, even in Manhattan, like Breakfast at Tiffany's, Captain America, The First Avenger, movies like The Avengers, The Dark Knight Rises, upcoming movies like The Avengers 2, and even TV shows like Doctor Who, Elementary, and Glee. Check out this shoot here. As I said, with a permit in New York, you get access to a police officer who many times will help you to secure your set, access to the streets, like for this truck here filled with equipment, or this back here which must be craft services. And check this out, you get to take over the streets. I bet you didn't know a driving scene was filmed like this. That's right, the person behind the wheel of the car is going to look like he or she is driving a car. When deciding on locations, make sure they are appropriate for sound. You don't want a location that's too close to a freeway or a construction site. In fact, here's a list of things to consider when scouting locations. Is parking available for cast and crew and equipment vehicles? Is there a bathroom facility nearby? Is it a quiet location away from traffic, train tracks, outdoor fountains? Is there electricity available to plug in your lights? If not, you're going to need a generator. If you're shooting out of town, are there overnight accommodations nearby? Is there air traffic noise if the site is en route to an airport? Do you have space to set up a picnic area to feed your cast and crew? If you didn't know, you always need craft services. That's right, you have to have food on the set to feed the members of the cast and crew as the day goes on, because these are long days. And you want that food to be good. Anyone will tell you. Oh, can you get permission to shoot there? Do you need a permit? And if so, can you afford to film there? Does using the site require the hiring of a police officer to stop foot or street traffic? Is there a photocopy store nearby for copying the next day's schedules and scripts? Do cell phones work in the area? I mean, I live in Manhattan, and sometimes my cell phone doesn't work in the middle of Central Park. Remember, finding that perfect location that works both inside as an interior and outside as an exterior may be difficult. So, sometimes you can film the exterior of one place and then use a different interior, or even construct the indoor rooms on a soundstage. So you can film both on location and in a soundstage. Remember that apartment that we talked about for Enchanted? The inside that was built on a soundstage? If you watch the movie, you'll see that that's exactly what they did when filming Enchanted. They showed you this apartment that doesn't really exist. It's been built on a soundstage somewhere in a studio over in Brooklyn. And then they cut to shots like this that show you the building from the outside. Now you believe that that apartment is in that building. As I said, they film the exterior of one place and then use an interior that's been built on a soundstage. Doing so gave them so much more control over the environment, over the sound, over the lighting, and over the shoot. Why are we discussing this? Well, in this class, you have two set challenges, the set mini challenge and the more extensive set hands-on. It's really a very simple challenge. You need to email me or bring me a picture. That's it? Well, that's not totally it. This picture must be a picture from New Rochelle or surrounding areas such as Larchmont, Scarsdale, Mamaroneck. A picture where you believe the movie could take place. And a picture that you took yourself and did not get from the internet. You must email your picture to me with your name and your class period in the subject line. You must also email this picture to yourself. You'll see why in class. Now, be prepared to explain / to provide the address for your picture and explain what type of movie you think could be filmed in that location. You can write that information down ahead of time, or you can bring that information with you in your head on the day that your picture is due in class. Now, I'll be asking these questions. I'll ask the address, and I'll ask you to describe the interesting aspects of your location. 3 reasons it would make a great movie set. And just like the middle of a movie, you want to make sure that these 3 reasons are different from one another. For example, let's go back to our picture of Will Smith. If I was describing why this was an interesting set, I wouldn't say that it has a gray car and it has a truck. Those 2 pieces of information are way too similar. I would pick out specific reasons why this picture is interesting. For example, I could talk about how colors are symbolic and tie into the theme of the movie. I can talk about how some of these buildings would be creepy when you think about them just completely empty or filled with zombies. I could talk about the space that's available, both for acting and for crew. Remember, you have all of these things to consider when you're trying to pick a location. So please don't go into the smallest bathroom or closet in your house and take a picture of that. All these things here might not be available for that particular location, and then I have to take points off. You want to know why this particular location is interesting, and it will need to inspire a log line. That's right, I'm going to want to know the log line you would use for a movie that would take place in that location. So get some ideas of the main character, the villain, and the reason why this particular location would inspire a unique scenario between that character and villain. The PowerPoint for your hands-on is very much the same. It asks you to pick locations in New Rochelle or surrounding areas that could be used for your director's treatment and script. That's right, you're going to want to go back into your director's treatment and find locations where that movie could take place. There are then questions for you to answer so you can talk about how these sets tie in with your director's vision. And with the hands-on for the class, you're going to have to do one picture where you take a before and an after. You have to make physical changes. Now, I photoshopped these particular changes, but in your assignment, you're going to actually make the changes. You're going to stage the scene. Like this. Here's the before, and here's the after. Do you notice the differences in the picture? You want to actually stage your set. If you do a weak staging, you're going to lose points on this particular part of the project. So make sure that the 3 changes you're making tie in with the movie that your director is trying to create. So that's it. That's it for this episode of Be the Teacher. You now know all about sets, about filming on location, filming on a soundstage, and you know about the mini challenge and the more extensive hands-on that will be part of our class. So that's it for this episode of Be the Teacher. I hope you understand set design, and I hope you understand what's required of you to do a great job on set design in this class. Have fun finding your pictures, and I'll see you on the next episode of Be the Teacher.